All right, first and foremost is all honor, praises, and glory unto Yahweh, the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the only true living power. We give reverence to his mighty name, and with trembling we acknowledge that there is none beside him. We give double honors to all the elders of Yasha'Allah and the teachers who came before us, those who labored in this word when it wasn't popular, when it wasn't trendy, but necessary. They planted the seed, they bore the reproach. They paved the way for this truth to reach our ears in this generation. But today, we rise in our lot. We carry the torch they lit, and we speak boldly in the name of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, because today is not a day of smooth words and flattering lips. Today we confront the lies. We dismantle the false doctrines. Today we cry aloud and spare not, and we tell our people, envy not thou the oppressor and choose none of his ways. We are not made to follow. We are not made to assimilate. And today we take down the false doctrine of Christian apologists, extracting one scripture from Micah chapter 5, and we give a full breakdown of this war scroll in spirit and in truth. So this lesson is for the sheep, the humble, the repentant, those who were tired of captivity and ready to return to their King, Hamashiach Yahushua. Let's get it. The world expects the Israelites to stay meek, broken, colonized. But the prophets tell a different story. You know what's wild? I never once heard a Christian pastor preach or even mention Micah 5. Not in sermons, not in Bible studies, not in Sunday school. It's like this chapter surgically was removed from their doctrine. But only when the true Israelites, standing firm, showed them this passage did it suddenly become a hot topic. And here's the trick. Whenever they finally touch Micah 5, they don't teach it to uplift Jacob. They weaponize one verse, verse 2, to fuel the Christmas pageant and the Trinity debate, while hiding the rest of the chapter like it never existed. They exalt baby Jesus born in Bethlehem, but never touch the absolute war scroll that follows. They want you distracted with the swaddling cloths, while ignoring the Lion of Judah sharpening his sword. And yet, they have the nerve to accuse anyone of eisegesis. They've never bothered to break down the rest of Micah 5. The rest of Micah 5 isn't about milk and honey. It's about fire, judgment, and it's about Jacob rising under Yahweh's command. It's about the Israelites becoming the instrument of wrath. So gather yourselves together, sons of Zion. This is the sounding of the trumpet. The fire off the altar that lit the tabernacle is now kindling in our bones. The time of soft-spoken preachers is over. You're not sitting in the presence of a negotiator. You're listening to the declaration of war. And Micah 5 is the war scroll. This is the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 1, and it reads, "Now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. he that lays siege against us, they shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon the cheek. What you're reading is a call to arms wrapped in the language of judgment. Daughter of troops, a prophetic title for a nation once regal, but now pressed under foreign occupation. It speaks of siege, not just physical, but spiritual. They smote the judge of Israel, not just the king, but the King of Kings, the Messiah himself. They dared put their hands on the anointed and thought there would be no recompense. Oh, but how mistaken they are. The verse says, they shall smite the judge of Israel with the rod upon the cheek. You thought that was just a historical reference? That's blasphemy in action. That's prophecy fulfilled with blood on their hands. They didn't just strike any man. They struck the anointed, the king chosen from everlasting. And what did Yahweh already tell them? This is the book of Psalms, chapter 2, verses 10 through 12, and it reads, Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye perish from the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. You see, it says kiss the Son, acknowledge him, submit, give reverence to the one ordained to rule. But what did they do? They chose mockery. They chose thorns. They chose a Roman death over a heavenly coronation. They didn't just ignore the command. They rebelled against it with nails and thorns. And now the warning stands fulfilled. Lest he be angry and ye perish from the way. That anger, that perishing, that's why Micah 5 doesn't stop at a peaceful dew. It evolves into the lion unleashed. This is why verse 4 says, and they shall abide, because only those who feared Yahweh and honored his Son will be allowed to dwell in the security of his reign. The rest, cut off, trampled, and devoured. They should have bowed. Instead, they smote him. They should have kissed the Son. Instead, they killed the king. And now judgment is not just coming, it's marching. And the hatred wasn't new. The plot to destroy him began before he could even speak. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 2, verse 16, and it reads, Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and he sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and in all the coast thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. So Herod wasn't just paranoid. He was possessed with satanic fear. He understood what Micah 5 meant. A ruler born in Bethlehem meant his end was near. So he committed a near genocide to stop a prophecy. But the Most High had already sealed the child's destiny. Fast forward to Christ's ministry, and the same wicked spirits still sought his life. This is the book of Luke, chapter 13, verse 31, and it reads, The same day there came certain of the Pharisees, saying unto him, Get thee out, and depart hence, for Herod will kill thee. Herod still wanted blood. The spirit of Esau still hunted the birthright. But what did the Messiah do? Did he run? No. He pressed on because Micah said he shall stand, not flee, not compromise. He would feed in the strength of Yahweh. So don't you ever think Micah 5 is just poetic prophecy. It's a divine indictment, a historical and spiritual witness against the rulers, against the wicked kings of the earth, and against every enemy that tried to stamp out the flame of David's throne. They should have kissed the Son. Instead, they tried to kill the infant king, then tried to kill the man he became. But now the fire returns, and it will devour. This is the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 2, and it reads, But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from old, from everlasting. Don't let their maps fool you. Power doesn't come from capitals, it comes from prophecy. Out of little Bethlehem came the eternal commander, the one whose goings forth are from everlasting. That's right, before the Assyrians, before Pharaoh, before Eden, he was. Not made by man's hands, but ordained from the bosom of Yahweh himself. This is not your pastor's sweet Jesus. This is the Lion of Judah, and he's not coming to talk. And they knew it. The leaders, the scribes, the people, they weren't confused. They even said it with their own mouths. This is the book of John, chapter 7, verse 42, and it reads, Hath not the scripture said that Christ cometh of the seed of David, and out of the town of Bethlehem where David was? There it is, plain upon tables. They quoted the prophecy from Micah 5, verse 2, with their own mouths, out of Bethlehem. Yet they still rejected him. They still chose Caesar. They still delivered the Prince of Peace to the Romans, yelling, We have no king but Caesar. So now Psalms 2 stands as a witness against them, not for them. The Son they refuse to kiss is now the king who will dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Micah 5 begins with that rebellion, and it ends in vengeance from the same Son they murdered. So, the betrayal didn't just stop at the heathens, but the religious leadership amongst the southern kingdom. They quoted the prophecy, they confirmed the location, they knew where to look, and still rejected the fulfillment. That wasn't confusion, that was rebellion, deliberate, calculated, and wicked. This is the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 3, and it reads, Therefore he give them up until the time that she which travaileth had brought forth. Then the remnant of his brethren shall return unto the children of Israel. Yes, the Israelites were given up, given over to captivity, given over to colonization, given over to the hands of our enemies. But not forever, because there is a time appointed and sealed when the woman in travail, Zion, will bring forth. And that child isn't just Christ in the flesh. It's also the birth of a nation reborn, a remnant reawakened, the brothers return, not just in spirit, in power. You see, Zion travaileth, the remnant shall return, the elect gathered, restored, The scattering was allowed until the appointed deliverer came, and afterward the remnant awakens. It's the sons of Zion waking up after hundreds of years of silence and confusion. It's literally Ezekiel 37's bones coming together, clothed in sinew and spirit. This is the book of Luke chapter 21 verse 24, and it reads, "And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled." Yahushua confirmed what Micah already saw: a people scattered like chaff, trodden down by the Gentiles and cut off from their inheritance until the time be fulfilled. This is not just exile. This is a prophetic occupation. This is the era of Gentile dominion. The holy city defiled, our people enslaved. The curses continued until a time far off, punished double. That's the giving up that Micah saw, and Yahushua confirmed it. But there is an expiration date on Gentile rulership. Their time is almost up. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 25, and it reads, "The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies, and thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth." You see the alignment? The Torah confirms the prophets. Micah wasn't guessing. He was in the spirit. The scattering is not an accident. It's a covenant curse. The curse had a time stamp. It was judgment, not abandonment. The travail was painful, but it produces the remnant. A people brought low, but destined to rise with the authority of the heavens behind them. But wait, the Most High didn't just afflict us lightly. He punished us double. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 40 verse 2, and it reads, "Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned, for she hath received of the Lord's hand double for all her sins." You see that? Double. That's why nobody's captivity looks like ours. No other people were destroyed culturally, physically, emotionally, spiritually like we were. The ships, the chains, the whips, the identity theft, the forced labor, the selling of infants or using them as gator bait, the generational trauma, and the non-contrite spirit of the heathen. The Lord didn't just judge us, He multiplied the measure. This ain't exaggeration. This is prophecy, and it is evidence. But just like He doubled our punishment, this is the book of Revelations, chapter 18, verse 6, and it reads, "Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works." America, Babylon the Great, gets the same measure we got, but doubled back on her head. Why? Because she made our pain her profit. Because she turned our chains into currency. Because she said, "I sit as a queen and shall see no sorrow." But Yahweh wrote the check, and judgment is how it gets cashed. That's balanced. That's justice. That's righteous recompense. And it's coming fast. But our people love Babylon. They're clueless as to what Babylon the Great is. The church doesn't teach. T.D. Jakes out of his own mouth says, "I love America," when the scripture gave a stark warning about loving the world. Micah 5:3 is not a funeral verse, it's a prophetic setup. The remnant was given up, but not cast off. We were scattered, but not forgotten. The woman travailed, but she brought forth. And now the brothers are returning, not just waking up spiritually, but rising with the spirit of power, not to assimilate, but to rule. The travail led to the remnant. The silence led to the roar. Let the nations tremble, because the sons of Zion are returning. This is the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 4, and it reads, "And he shall stand and feed in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord, his God, Yahweh, and they shall abide, for now shall he be great unto the ends of the earth." You see that? He shall stand, not kneel, not negotiate, not ask for permissions from empires that enslaved his people. He stands like a lion taking the hill, like a general stepping into his rightful command post. He's not asking for power. He manifested. He doesn't come to run a church service. He's coming to establish government. And what does he do? He feeds. But this ain't no food pantry. This is governance. This is provision, protection, instruction, and rulership, all wrapped into one Hebrew word. He shall feed that spiritual and political dominion. He nourishes with law. He guards with power. He leads with perfect judgment in the strength of his Lord. And where does this power come from? Not from NATO, not from democracy, not from Vatican councils or Western alliances, not in democracy, not in political alliances, in the majesty of Yahweh, who Micah confirms is the God of this future king. That itself is a dagger to Christianity. The Messiah doesn't sit beside the Father as an equal. He serves him. He magnifies him. He represents him, period. He feeds the people in the power and authority of Yahweh. And when he stands, we abide, because his greatness will stretch across the earth. This ain't no side mission. This is global dominion. So let's examine these key phrases. In the strength of the Lord, this leader doesn't rule by his own might or politics, but by the power of his God. His authority is divine. It's not man-made. In the majesty of the Lord his God, everything he does represents the glory and authority of the Most High. This line also separates him from the Most High. As he serves, this is delegated power, not co-equal Godhead confusion. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 34, verse 22 through 24, and it reads, "Therefore I will save my flock, and they shall no more be a prey. And I will judge between cattle and cattle, and I will set up one shepherd over them, and he shall feed them, even my servant David. He shall feed them, and he shall be their shepherd, and I, the Lord, will be their God, and my servant David a prince among them. I, the Lord, have spoken it." So this is not talking about King David returning to the earth, but one of the Davidic line, the Messiah. and it shows a clear separation of authority. The Lord is still supreme. His chosen ruler, whether you call him David or the son of David, his servant, not his equal. You see, Christianity tries to make the Messiah the Most High, but Micah and Ezekiel both say he serves the Most High. So does Isaiah, and he will rule in his name, not in the replacement of it. When he stands, the kingdom stands. When he feeds, the remnant is sustained. When he is revealed, the earth is subdued. The scripture says he shall be great unto the ends of the earth. This is global dominion. This is not a metaphor. It's not spiritual allegory. Real rulership over real lands, real nations, real kings. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 2, verse 8, and it reads, "Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession." See that? All of the scripture testify of this rulership. It was already prophesied before he even stepped foot on the earth, and he was rejected. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 14, and it reads, "And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him." See that? Rulership. The Messiah doesn't just save souls, he takes kingdoms and obliterates them, subdues them, strikes through kings, and becomes the only sole ruler. When he stands, no one else stands beside him. This isn't your grandmother's Sunday school Messiah. This is the Lion of Judah standing in full authority. He feeds his flock, he governs his nation, and he executes his mission in the majesty of Yahweh. The fake church taught you a weak Jesus. Micah shows you different. Micah shows you a war general, a kingdom builder, a judge of nations. He doesn't come with a peace treaty. He comes to establish dominion, and every nation will bow or be broken. The scripture says, "And Israel will abide, not scattered, not subjugated, but planted in power under a king the world cannot tame." This is the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 5, and it reads, "And this man shall be the peace when the Assyrian shall come into our land, and when he shall tread in our palaces, then shall we raise against him 7 shepherds and 8 principal men." This man shall be the peace, but how? Not the peace that the nations fantasize about, not the shalom they counterfeit in songs while missiles fly overhead. This peace comes after judgment, not before. Even Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6 and 7 says, "And the government shall be upon his shoulder. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end." But why no end? Because every rebellion will have been crushed. Peace doesn't come from treaties. Peace comes after conquest. Yahushua is not voted in. He descends with fire, crowned by the Father. It does not come from the UN. It does not come from voting booths. It doesn't come from peace talks, ceasefires, or interfaith alliances. This man, this Messiah, shall be the peace, but not through compromise, not through treaties, not through sitting at UN roundtables with our enemies. He brings peace by subduing the oppressor, which brings me into the next point. The Assyrian here in this verse is not just speaking about Nineveh or King Sennacherib. It's an epithet. The Assyrian is a prophetic code name, a stand-in title for every oppressive imperial force that invades Israel's inheritance and defiles Yahweh's people, from ancient empires to modern Western powers. This includes Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome, and today's Edomite dominion, America, NATO, UN, even Zionist occupation, all of it. The Assyrian is the spirit of a system of conquest, not nationality. It's a code for a beast-like dominion. When it speaks of our land, it doesn't require the Israelites to physically be there. It represents their inheritance, their holy territory, being controlled and defiled by outsiders, while we, the rightful heirs, are still scattered. When the Assyrian spirit treads our palaces, that's military occupation, colonialization. That's false religious institutions set up in the land, claiming what is holy. And the pattern holds. The Assyrians, one of the first oppressors, exiled the northern kingdom. The Babylonians burned the temple. The Romans killed the Messiah. And today, Zionists and Gentiles trample the Holy Land, calling it theirs. As if the Most High didn't confirm through Zechariah that everybody who burdened themselves with the land shall be cut into pieces. So when you read the words, the Assyrian, in this context, it's used for an oppressive system that invades and dominates the land, regardless if it's Babylon, Persia, Greece, or modern Edom, much the same way that Babylon becomes a name for end-time empires, even when Nebuchadnezzar is long and gone. Just like every mention about Egypt isn't always speaking about the Pharaoh. It's spiritual coding, people, and the heathen just can't comprehend. The Assyrian is a global oppressor system. Edom in its final form, a beast that cycles through kingdoms but always targets the saints. So when it says, when he shall tread in our palaces, when they set up shop, establish embassies, build temples, and pollute the land. And we've seen it all. It's all documented. Each time the Assyrian thinks he's untouchable. But Micah prophesied that when it happens and the Lord gives the okay, not only will the Messiah stand, he will raise others. It says 7 shepherds and 8 principal men. Now, this is symbolic language. Just like when it says shepherd, he's not going into a farm and removing a sheep herder that has a staff. And it says 8 principal men. Is not a shepherd also a principal man? So it's not literally talking about 15 people. This is Hebraic code for completion and divine coordination. These are elect men. It's just worded in a way that gives it a symbolic definition. These elect men are glorified, righteous, and incorruptible. Whether prophets, kings, judges, strategic officers in Yahushai's war council. This is not disorganized rebellion. This is kingdom structure, the government of Zion. So Micah 5:5 shows a response force. Yahushua stands. He raises up leaders under him, men molded by affliction, trained in righteousness, and sealed for battle. So this prophecy isn't floating in limbo. Most of it has already been moving. The judge was smited with a rod upon the cheek when the Lord said to kiss the son. He was born in Bethlehem Ephratah, the same as David, which is the line of David. The Israelites were given up until only a remnant shall be saved, which is echoed throughout the script. The Messiah comes back in a glorified state, ready to wreck something, waiting on the Father's cue so the enemies can be placed under his footstool. This man shall be the peace, the Prince of Peace, when oppressive regimes tread the covenant lands having great authority. This is a literal timeline. Micah 5 is not poetic fluff. This is a prophetic blueprint, a military countdown disguised as scripture. And when the final trigger is pulled, the peace spoken of here is not silence. The silence is after it's all over with. This is war organization. It's not chaos. It's coordinated conquest under the Lamb who becomes a lion. And it doesn't end there. Then shall we raise against him 7 shepherds and 8 principal men. Again, coordination, military. These men don't just rise, they are raised by Yahushua himself, raised in power, raised in incorruption, raised for war. Just like Revelation 17 verse 14 says, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. 7 shepherds and 8 principal men. That's a code for divine completion and earthly dominion. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 32 verse 1 and 2, and it reads, Behold, a king shall reign in righteousness, and princes shall rule in judgment, and a man shall be as an hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, and rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. That's your Micah 5 leadership squad. A righteous king, Yahushua, princes, 7 shepherds and 8 principal men, not Sunday school teachers, but safe houses in a storm, cover in the day of vengeance, rulers in the day of fire. And the rest of Isaiah 32 drops the hammer, verse 17 and 18. And the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness and assurance forever. And my people shall dwell in a peaceable habitation, and in sure dwellings, and in quiet resting places. But when does this peace come? After the purging, after the Assyrian gets dealt with, after the fire, after the storm. So yes, this man shall be the peace, but only after the smoke clears. This is the book of Micah chapter 5 verse 6, and it reads, And they shall waste the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod in the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian, and when he cometh into our land, and when he treadeth within our borders. So in Zechariah 12 and 3, it's not just an end time prophecy. It was a stern warning that got ignored. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces. The angels took the record of those who ignored the voice. So now listen up, Israel, the real Israel. I need you locked in right here. When Micah says they shall waste the land of Assyria, that's not just ancient history, Akim. That's the judgment that's coming under the authority of Yahushai when he returns as that conquering Lion of Judah. Israel and the righteous rulers, the elect, are gonna move through these nations like a sword through butter. The sword isn't just literal, it's spiritual judgment and a physical conquest. When the kingdom comes, the enemy's lands will be wasted, including the land of Assyria and the land of Nimrod, the territory tied to Babylon, rebellion, and empire worship. Then he says the land of Nimrod and the interests thereof. You gotta catch that. Nimrod goes all the way back to Genesis 10. This was the man behind Babel, but it has nothing to do with the ancient Mesopotamia or the Iraqi people per se. This is a global war taking place. However, Micah is not denying that the war is worldwide, but he's showing us that in the final war with a written camera view in the region of ancient Assyria, modern day Iraq, parts of Assyria, and Turkey, as it becomes the frontline theater of judgment. Why? Because when it mentions the interests thereof, these are the gates of dominion, borders, embassies, strongholds, oil fields, military bases. The modern tools of empire will be overrun by the people of Yahweh under the command of the Messiah. Iraq itself hosts massive U.S. military presence, and it's surrounded by Western and NATO allies. It sits in the middle of the oil-rich, geopolitically volatile region, bordered by Iran, Syria, and Turkey. It's a launch pad for the modern-day Western military domination over the Middle East. Thus shall he deliver us from who? The Assyrian. Not a race, not a geography, a rulership system of oppression, spiritual deception, and world dominance. This final war won't be stopped by peace treaties. It will be ended by deliverance when Yahushai comes into what's ours and removes every intruder. And then listen to the warning. When he cometh into our land. This is the last battle, family. The nations will gather together and prepare for battle, and that's when the just one comes to subdue the nations. It's all connected. They will come with tanks, missiles, armies, alliances. But Yahushua will meet them with fire and power from on high. That's Armageddon. That's the end of their rule. This is not some separate end-time war or a war after being restored. No, when Yahushua comes, he's focused and he knows all of his enemies and he knows exactly what to do. The book of Isaiah chapter 42 verse 4 says he will not be discouraged until he established judgment in the earth. Micah sees the Assyrian. He sees the oppressive empire. Joel sees all nations being gathered to Jehoshaphat. Obadiah sees Edom getting cut off forever and the day of the Lord being upon all the heathen. Matthew says wherever the carcass is, there will the vultures be gathered. Revelation sees the fall of the beast and the eventual destruction of the dragon itself. And now you're beginning to see why Micah 5 does not belong in church sermons. It belongs to war rooms. It belongs to campfires of the elect. Because once he raises these men, the nations will feel the roar of Zion. This is the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 7, and it reads, "And the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people, as a dew from the Lord, as the showers upon the grass, that tarrieth not for man, nor waiteth for the sons of men." Watch how the prophecy pivots. The same remnant, different effect. Among the nations will be like dew, silent, refreshing, sent from the Lord, not men, not in need of approval, no need for funding, will move like the early rain, anointed, unstoppable. This is the positioning of the remnant. In verse 8, they get activated underneath Yahushua. But verse 7 shows us the remnant of Jacob, regathered, empowered, standing in the midst of the heathen. But this remnant isn't just surviving. They're being prepped for judgment duty. They won't wait for man's authority. They won't need the permission of the UN. They won't wait for NATO to say it's okay to fight, nor waiteth for the sons of men, because Yahushua himself gives the orders. Now look how Jeremiah seals it. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 20, and it reads, "Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms." Who? Jacob, Yaiquab, Yasha'Allah, the 144,000, the righteous remnant. The 144,000 aren't just singing holy, holy, holy somewhere in the clouds. They're the governing priesthood, kings underneath Yahushua. And yes, they are his army of judgment. These are sealed for protection before the destruction begins. As Revelations 14, 1 through 5 says, the 144,000 with Yahushua on Mount Zion, they follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. But where is he going? To judge, to conquer, to rule. This is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 21, and it reads, "And saviors shall come upon Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's." So those saviors equal the 144,000. Judgment equals military and spiritual power. The 144 aren't just saved. They're chosen for the role in executing the Most High's vengeance. That's why Revelation 7 lists them by tribe, because it's a military roll call. Of the tribe of Judah, 12,000. This is the book of Psalm, chapter 149, verses 6 through 9, and it reads, "Let the high praises of God be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen, and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains, and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye Yahweh." This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 41, verses 15 and 16, and it reads, "Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument, having teeth. Thou shalt thresh the mountains and beat them small, and shalt make the hills as chaff. Thou shalt fan them, and the wind shall carry them away, and the whirlwind shall scatter them. And thou shalt rejoice in the Lord, and shalt glory in the Holy One of Israel." That sounds like a glorified body to me. Is it not written that I said ye are gods? Ho! This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 12, verse 8 and 9, and it reads, "In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the Israelites, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God, and the angel of the Lord before them. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem." So again, when you read about glorified bodies in the New Testament, how fitting that the heathen believe it applies to them. That's what happens when you cut off the Lord the highest from your understanding. And how dare you go to the heathen to tell you about your own God? This is the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 8, and it reads, "And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who if he go through both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver." So now the remnant becomes a lion, not a kitten, not a counselor, not the prey, but the predator. The remnant, the elect men, are not looking for safe spaces. We're not going around telling people, "I love you." We are in the judgment in flesh. It says we tear down in pieces and none can deliver. It's all linear. This is the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 9, and it reads, "Thine hand shall be lifted up upon thine adversaries, and all thine enemies shall be cut off." There it is. That is the end game. The hand of Jacob, once bound, now lifted up in vengeance. No more praying for our enemies to change. They will be cut off. So listen up, Yasha'Allah. This isn't a poetic metaphor. This is military language. This is the judgment phase. The Most High is declaring that your hand, yes, the hand of the elect remnant, the glorified sons of Zions, will be lifted up over your enemies. Not through voting, not through marching, not through pleading with your oppressors, through raw power, through divine authorization. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 25, verse 7, and it reads, "There be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemies." This is the moment the prophets long for. This is the joy of the righteous, the fall of the nations that lifted a hand against the apple of Yahweh's eye. So when it says thine hand shall be lifted up, your authority will be exalted. Your rulership will be established. Your dominion will be activated. When it says upon thine adversaries, who are they? The same ones who conspired against you in Psalms 83. The same ones who scattered you across the 4 corners of the earth. The same ones who made merchandise off your captivity. The nations who built empires off of your blood. Now watch the judgment. It says all thine enemies shall be cut off. That's not probation. That's not a slap on the wrist. That's not Sunday church forgiveness. It says cut off. And Obadiah 1:18 backs this up real heavy. There shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau. Jeremiah 30:16 confirms it. All they that devoured thee shall be devoured. Isaiah 14:2 seals it. And they shall rule over their oppressors. So this is what the world don't want you to know. The real gospel is a transfer of power, a transfer in rulership. The real gospel is vengeance, restoration, and the crushing of every empire that lifted itself against the Lord and his people. Thus saith Yahweh. We're not here to fit in, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to inherit. This is the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 10, and it reads, "And it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh, that I will cut off thy horses out of the midst of thee, and I will destroy thy chariots." So listen closely. This is the purging phase. The Most High, Barakatah Yahweh, is purging all things that offend, because after the judgment of the nations, the cleansing isn't done. Even among the remnant, even in the land, the Most High is going to purge out everything that resembles the dependence on a world system. I will cut off thy horses. That's destroying carnal military strengths, destroying armies, destroying war horses, tanks, missiles, or defense alliances. Psalm chapter 20 verse 7 lines up perfectly. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of Yahweh our God. So it says, I will destroy thy chariots, meaning all mechanisms of man's might, gone, destroyed, because this kingdom will not be built on the weapons of the flesh, but on the power of Yahweh alone. Zechariah chapter 4 verse 6, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith Yahweh of hosts. So this is the purification of Zion. Even though Israel will reign, the Most High will not allow pride, military dependence, or any trace of Babylon's mindset to survive. The elect will rule by the Spirit, not by tanks, not by war machines, not by global military strength, but by the unbreakable authority of the Lord himself. This is the book of Micah chapter 5 verse 11, and it reads, "And I will cut off the cities of thy land and throw down all thy strongholds." So this verse is just as surgical as it gets. Barakatah Yahweh, he isn't just breaking down physical structures. He's breaking down systems, cities, strongholds of commerce, politics, banking, vanity, and wicked infrastructure. Just like in Isaiah chapter 2 verse 12, it says, "For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty, and upon everyone that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low, and upon all the high towers, and upon all the fenced walls." This is the literal dismantling of the world's power structures, even those built by anybody, even in Yasha'Allah, if they were influenced by the Babylonian pride. Throw down thy strongholds, meaning no more secret societies, no more banking cartels, no more corrupt power circles, no more self-made empires within Israel trying to mimic Esau's system. So Proverbs chapter 10:25 also lines up. As the whirlwind passeth, so is the wicked no more, but the righteous is an everlasting foundation. So when Yahushua reigns, every system will bow. It will be a kingdom of righteousness, not capitalism, not socialism, not American-style government, not Rome 3.0. The 144,000 will rule by law, judgment, and righteousness, not by Esau's blueprint. Everything that exalts itself above the Most High, even inside Yasha'Allah, will get torn down and trampled underfoot. Your Hollywood temples of vanity and sorcery? No, cut off. Your black excellence built on Masonic pride and celebrity worship? Cut down, all of it, destroyed. The Most High is showing us what he always does to prideful empires, including any version of Yasha Allah that tries to mimic the heathen. When Yahushua comes back, he's not just cleaning Edom and the nations, we also will be purged, cleansed through the fire. Any Israelite structures, schools, camps, kingdoms, or networks built on pride, rebellion, and heathen customs, they will get torn down. This kingdom ain't about being an Israelite version of America. This is Zion, fully restored, built from the dust, ruled in righteousness, and free from every trace of Babylon. This is the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 12, and it reads, "And I will cut off witchcrafts from out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers." This verse is no joke. The Most High is not just smashing cities and strongholds. He's uprooting the spiritual poison too. Witchcraft and soothsaying. These are tools of deception and control that have long enslaved our people and the nations alike. Throughout scriptures, witchcraft is condemned as rebellion. It's a counterfeit power that promises guidance but delivers destruction. Yahweh's judgment here means the end of all occult practices that have infiltrated our people and the world. No more lies, no more false prophets, no more demonic manipulation. This is the cleansing of the land and hearts, preparing the way for pure worship and true revelation. The 144,000 will govern under the light of truth. No room for shadows or deceit. This is the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 13, and it reads, "Thy graven images also will I cut off, and thy molten images out of the midst of thee, and thou shalt no more worship the work of thine hands." This verse follows the cleansing of witchcraft with merciless demolition of idolatry itself. Graven images, carved statues, and molten idols have long been spiritual cancer and a direct violation of the first two commandments. The Most High is saying enough. No more will the people bow to lifeless creations, powerless works of human hands that mislead and enslave the heart. Idolatry isn't just a bad habit, it is spiritual adultery. It breaks the covenant and opens the door to judgment. The removal of these images symbolizes a restoration of pure, undiluted worship to the Father alone, the restoration of the covenant relationship. This is the radical reset, the old corrupt order destroyed to make room for the kingdom of the Messiah to reign in truth and power. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 27, verse 15, and it reads, "Cursed be the man that maketh any graven or molten image, an abomination unto the Lord, the work of the hands of the craftsman, and put it in a secret place." This isn't just talking about golden calves or Catholic statues. This includes modern idols, celebrity worship, Christian crosses, 6-point stars of Molech, American flags in churches, even the image of Caesar Borgia masquerading as Yahushua. The Most High is repossessing his worship, and by force if necessary. It says, "Out of the midst of thee," that's personal. He's not just destroying images around us. He's purging the ones inside, traditions passed down, images we've accepted subconsciously. religious icons we defended without scriptural proof, simply because of the buffoon that's on stage said so, even though he had no scriptural proof. He's just accepting the ideals of the heathen that ruled over him. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 14, verse 3, and it reads, "Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their heart and put the stumbling block of their iniquity before their face. Should I be inquired of at all by them?" This means internal idolatry is just as dangerous. Trust in money, trust in relationships, trusting your own thoughts above the very words of the Most High. This is the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 14, and it reads, "And I will pluck up thy groves out of the midst of thee, so will I destroy thy cities." The Most High's judgment is thorough. He's not stopping at idols and witchcraft. The groves, sacred trees, or high places used for pagan worship will be uprooted completely. This is total cleansing. The groves represent hidden altars of rebellion and spiritual compromise. They've defiled the Israelites' land and invited the curses. The destruction of cities is in the physical consequence of persistent spiritual corruption. The land itself will reflect the heart's condition. This is a powerful warning. Unrepented sin leads to national ruin, but this judgment is also a call to repentance and renewal. The remnant who cling to the voice of the Father in fear will witness restoration after this purging. This is the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 15, and it reads, "And I will execute vengeance in anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard." They don't know this God, not this version. They liken him as a soft white man walking around with a baby panda in his hands. But he is coming with anger, with fury, with vengeance the earth has never seen. This is Yahweh Tazaba'ath, the Lord of armies. This is the commander of heaven's armies, the God of war, Yahweh Tazaba'ath, and he's not taking prisoners. This verse shifts from cleaning and cleansing Yasha Allah to delivering divine judgment on the heathen nations, those who oppress and blaspheme the Lord's people. Yahweh's vengeance is unlike anything the world has ever witnessed. Sudden, fierce, and just. This is not random wrath, but righteous judgment. The heathens' arrogance and rebellion have provoked this fury. Their deeds have called down the fire from the Most High, the King of Terror. The judgment will silence the nations that mocked the Israelites' God and trampled his covenant. For the faithful remnant, this is vindication and hope. The Most High fights on their behalf. When it says execute vengeance, that ain't diplomacy. This ain't a warning shot. This is recompense, long overdue. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 34, verse 8, and it reads, "For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion." There is a legal case going on in the heavens, and the nations are guilty as charged. The execution of judgment is not personal emotion. It's the enforcement of divine justice. It says in anger and fury, you think the great flood was bad? That was mercy compared to what's coming. This is the consuming rage of a father avenging centuries of blood, rape, theft, lies and mockery against his people. This is the book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 2 and 3, and it reads, God is jealous, and the Lord revengeth, and the Lord revengeth, and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he reserveth wrath for his enemies. The Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. The Lord hath his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. He is coming like a tempest, not a counselor. Yahweh Tazaba'ath, the God of armies. So when it says upon the heathen, this ain't just talking about Edomites, my people. This is every nation that joined the Confederacy in Psalm 83. Every tongue that said, where is their God? Every hand that helped scatter his people to the four corners. You cannot be crying and getting into a corner whimpering when you see the destruction of these nations. This is the Lord's judgment, and you gotta be cool with it. You gotta be good with it when he's delivering destruction that he sat on for centuries. Jeremiah 30 and 16 said, all that devoured thee shall be devoured, every last one. So when the scripture says such as they have not heard, this is next level. There is no historical reference point for what's coming. Not Sodom, not Egypt, not Babylon, not Hiroshima, not the Holocaust, not 9/11. So, this is not the Christ they painted in Renaissance chapels, my people. This is not the soft-spoken pacifist in sandals. This is the man of war. This is the Lion of Judah with garments dyed in blood, Isaiah 63. This is Yahweh Tazaba'ath unleashing vengeance on behalf of Zion, because the Lord has a controversy with the nations. This is the book of Luke chapter 18 verse 7 and 8, and it reads, and shall not God avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bear along with them? I tell you, he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth? The world will learn what true fear of the Lord means. So to the remnant, rejoice. To the oppressors, run if you can. But you can't hide from prophecy. The kingdom is coming, and it's coming through fire. When you say, Yahweh Tazaba'ath, you don't know who you're talking to. You're invoking the master strategist of judgment, the orchestrator of angelic war, the power behind every righteous battle since the beginning of time. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 13 verse 3 and 4, and it reads, I have commanded my sanctified ones, I have also called my mighty ones from mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. He is the one who stirred up David to fight Goliath. He is the fire behind the chariots of Elisha. He is the voice that thundered when the earth opened Korah's rebellion. He is the power who will soon split the sky and lead the army of fire from heaven. Yahweh Tazaba'ath. No negotiations, no detours, no mercy for the wicked, just precision judgment. So when Micah chapter 5 verse 15 says, I will execute vengeance in anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard, you better believe it's Yahweh Tazaba'ath leading that charge. Not a choir boy, but the king of terror for the enemies of Israel. So let this be known across the four corners. The armies of heaven are mobilizing. The banner is lifted. The lion is roaring. And the Lord is coming to take back the earth by force. So this is Mount Zion reborn. Mata Zion Tamyad. You were not reborn to entertain. You were reborn to proclaim. This is our identity, our assignment. We roar. Micah 5 is the horn that sounds before the war, and we just blew it. Let every enemy prepare for the shaking, because the remnant is not hiding anymore. So listen up, Yasha Allah. This ain't ancient folklore. This is living prophecy. It says, I will execute vengeance in anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard. The Lord of armies is speaking. And when he moves, it's not for a treaty, it's for vengeance. Not just against the nations long fallen like Assyria or Babylon, but against every modern empire that raised itself up on the backs of his people. America, NATO, the UN, Rome 2.0, all of it. This judgment is personal. For every lash, every lie, every theft, every drop of blood spilled by the hands that never repented. It's for the slave ships, for the stolen names, for the rewritten history, the desecration of the covenant. But to the faithful, to the remnant, to the sealed, to the watchers who have kept the commandments and believed on Yahushua, the fire is not for you, it's for thine enemies. This is the book of Malachi chapter 4 verse 1 and 2, and it reads, For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. And he and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. So what now? Stand firm, stay ready. Reject compromise. Reject Babylon. Live like the kingdom is already yours. Forgive everyone thine neighbor. Forgive everyone thine people. This is not the time to get soft. This is the time to lock in. Sharpen up your sword. Gird up thine loins. And move like the battle is already underway. Because it is. The Most High, Barakatah Yahweh, did not forget us. And he's coming with fire, fury, and finality. And Yasha Allah, you were made for this moment. So again, shout out and a healthy shalom to all my teachers, who I am greater than none of. I seek not the preeminence. I'm only just fulfilling my lot, and I am forever indebted. Let's lock down. Let's keep the precepts. Let's continue to wake up the hopeful elect. I wholeheartedly appreciate all my brothers, every last one of you. And for the rest of Yasha Allah, I hope you you were edified. I want to give all honor, praises, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, and Shalom.